Well, welcome to Talk Freedom. Here we are with Ericka Redic. I am so pleased and honored and just excited to talk with you today, Erica. It's it's August 16th.
Yes.
We've just finished the primaries. You're standing.
Yes.
You're still smiling. Tell us about your experience. The how are you doing emotionally?
I feel great, actually. This has been, you know, I let me just start by saying that I started getting involved in Vermont politics again in 2019. And I have dedicated much of the last 3 years to spreading conservative values. And there are a lot of people who are engaged. There are a lot of people who are participating. There are a ton of people awakening or getting red pilled to the you know how much our government, just to what extent our government kind of messes up their lives or messes with them, right? They're awakening to this. But there's also a lot of people who are just totally disengaged. They're apathetic, they don't
Mhm.
vote, they don't participate in their own self-governance, and then they complain about the way that things are. And it has been the question of the ages. How do we get through to these people? How do we get through that apathy, that indifference? What can we
Mhm.
do to awaken these people to care? And um a little drama, a little nonsense, a little earned media certainly helped with that. So I've had a number of folks reach out and say, so excited you had the Libertarian Party nomination already. So glad that there's still a conservative or, right of center voice on the ballot, right? Because I'm not running against a Republican and a Democrat. I'm running against a Democrat and a progressive leaning independent that just happens to have an R behind his name. And so, like, if you value your freedom and your constitutional rights, there's pretty much just one choice on the ballot for you this year. So
Yeah.
I think this is actually a golden opportunity to break the stronghold that has been over Vermont politics. And that's really exciting. That
Can
is
you
really, really exciting.
can you still do cartwheels?
I can.
You could do cartwheels past the apathetic people. So,
Yeah, right.
but
Exactly.
it just occurred to me as a former Democrat, thought I was liberal, didn't really realize how hypocritical they were.
Yep.
Um, that the word liberal sort of denotes liberty, like everybody can do what they want, and breaking that idea into breaking that nutshell out so that people realize that actually the conservative value is the liberty value, is the freedom value, is the you know the
Yes.
the right to speak, the right to
Yep.
choose.
I have a video on social media, YouTube, Facebook. I don't know if it's on Instagram too, but I think it's actually called I'm a conservative because I'm a liberal. So
Very
like,
good.
and people don't realize, even my people, who are Republicans, who are right of center, I tell them our founding fathers even said that what we have is a liberal constitution. And the idea is that they wanted to allow for maximum freedom, maximum liberty for people in the United States of America. And so the idea was we need the government as small as possible with as few restrictions. How about you guys just not mess with me? Everybody gets to say whatever they want, follow whatever religion they want. You get to do you.
Hmm.
And so in order to preserve liberal values, you have to be a conservative. You have to be a constitutional conservative and defend the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, the 10th
Fourth
Amendment with
Amendment.
equal protection. I mean, like, go through the list, right? You have to defend the Constitution.
Right.
And so that's when, I was awakened like many people, and I realized, oh my God, if I actually believe the things that I say that I believe, I have to be a conservative
Right.
in order to protect them.
Right.
So that's how I got here.
It would be good to see, to me, the way the Democrats aren't looking around and calling out those of their own for trespassing on bodily rights, for the coercion, for a lot of things, certainly a lot of things with Biden and his behavior. To me, that erodes my trust even more. That
Yeah.
uh, and your opponent, Becca Balint, I think, and I'm speaking freely because this is talk freedom. I think I think she's an opportunist.
Mm,
I do not think that she takes, I mean, I do not see that she takes her oath seriously. And I've seen her
mm,
at work in committee,
yeah.
bringing forward issues around the 5G, and I've seen her just totally flippant, and
Mm,
pass them off. And, I don't mean to, I'm just really concerned that I cannot help but be concerned that there will be a splitting the vote, and she'll end up being uh, given the seat.
mm, yeah.
How can we over? She's from around here, so there's signs everywhere.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, well, go ahead, finish your question.
Well, my question is have you had? Is there any possibility that Liam might for, step out of the Republican Party that he never wanted, and excuse the dog he's playing on the thing?
He said he won't because he'll be off the ballot. So he, unfortunately for Mr. Madden, did not plan and he didn't execute his plan well. So he did not understand that in order to run as an independent, he would have to fill in or submit a petition to run as an independent.
Right.
So he's holding on to the Republican nomination because otherwise he'll be removed from the ballot. So
Can the Republicans, well, they don't have the opportunity to nominate who they want?
they do not.
Okay,
The party could not prevent him from running in the primary,
right.
nor can they keep him from the ballot. So there's nothing in our bylaws that allows for that, nothing in the Secretary of State. So the state did what they could, which was to basically reject him as their nominee. That was their main option.
Hmm.
Now, what I believe is in the works, and I shouldn't speak for anyone, but if you reach out to the county chairs, I'm already hearing from many of the county chairs that they are supporting me, supporting my candidacy. They're reaching out to their constituency, telling them to support me. So the party can actually endorse me, whether it's the state GOP or the county, town GOPs, any of them can endorse me
Hmm.
officially as a candidate.
Hmm.
Whether or not they can provide resources as a party, they
Hmm.
cannot, is my understanding. Like they can't give me money as a party, but the members can all donate, volunteer, and participate.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
What
there's nothing preventing that.
what is your sort of daily routine for the campaign trail? Do you have any sort of, I mean, I have this lovely idea which I would love to see people do, especially you, but you probably already are doing so much. That would be to put up a daily 3 or 4 minute up to your Facebook, up to, out. Are you doing a little running log?
I have not been doing that specifically, but you're not the first person who has suggested it. Uh, to be honest with you, it is just really challenging to keep up with everything. And
Yeah.
so it is something that I've looked at adding to the schedule now
Hmm.
that we're through the primaries. Because many folks know I run my own business. I'm also a housing provider in Burlington. And so it is juggling, and my husband, I help with my husband's film festival. So juggling many priorities and the campaign has been a real challenge. And so we, one of the things I did this week was sit down and go, okay, I still need to earn a living. I still need to pay my mortgage and eat, right? That is important. And so how do I adjust my schedule to make sure that there's space for all of these things that are a priority? And that is one of the things that I put into my calendar was I have to start tweeting more. I hate Twitter. I just hate Twitter. I'm going to
It's
do it because I
terrible.
have to, but it's that and the little videos, we've been trying to post something, at least something, every day or so, but I can probably add a video in
Yeah, just the
and
story
see
of,
something
the story.
alive, like a day in the
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, the story of, I'm waking up and I'm dealing with an honest, the honest story.
Yeah.
I think could be pretty compelling.
So
And
like earlier today when I was pulling my hair out over some stupid nonsense that we're dealing with the city, I could just put my phone like right here on my computer and be like, "Yo guys, everything is stupid," and then talk to it and tell everybody. That's how I feel when I'm dealing with the city of Burlington. Everything is stupid.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny. I actually had some people say, who was it, told me who I don't remember who it was, told me that people didn't vote for me because I live in Burlington. They were like, "Oh, she must not really be a Republican. She lives in Burlington." I was like, "What? How
Yeah.
can that be a disqualifier? That is like
Yeah.
not even fair."
Oh, wow.
I'm fighting the good fight from right inside the belly of the beast. I should get credit for that.
Oh, wow. And you're
Uh,
you're you're driving all over creation.
yes.
I mean,
Yes.
uh, that's so like it's so it glasses your eyes over how much you go over to the bottom right hand part of the state up to the left hand right hand, you know.
Yes. There was one day we went from where were we? Where did we start? It was not Johnson. It, oh my God, it was the NRA
Montgomery,
Family Day. Was that Johnson? So we were
Lyndonville.
up in Johnson and then we had to stop in Montpelier,
Mm-hmm. It's not too bad.
Castleton,
Okay.
Castleton,
Oh, Castleton.
and then
Bellows.
Bellows Falls.
Oh yeah.
I
Wow.
think it was on the same day. It was like boom, boom, but we
Wow.
literally did a zigzag across the state. It was like we couldn't have driven more miles today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad your husband was with you.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Yes. Yep. And Benjamin and Patty Myers is another big supporter. And I think she might officially be my campaign manager, but that's a story to come. And so she's been with me a lot too, and she's awesome. So we've got a really good crew of volunteers. We can use a lot more. Everybody watching, we need all the help we can get.
So,
We've got
you want me
email
to,
templates for
let me
people to
see.
share and
I could
all
put
kinds
up
of
a
stuff.
share screen with your phone number or something. Should we do that?
Oh, sure.
Let me just
On
make
the
it big.
website, if you go to the website, it's right on the main page of the website at the bottom.
Okay.
Anybody, if you go to erickaredic.com or redicforcongress.com, at the there's a connect page and it has you can put in your email address to sign up for the newsletter. There's also a contact form so people can write questions or let us know how they want to help or
Yeah.
contribute. There's a donate link. There's a button for the store to order merch.
Yeah, okay. So here I'll just make your name as big as possible so people can see it because your name isn't quite as simple as all that to
It's
spell.
true. People spell my name wrong all the
Okay, I'm
time.
gonna do it this way so that people see it right. And then I'll put it together. Oh shoot. Let me put it back together. I thought I was gonna do it. Okay, okay, I'm gonna share screen because I am one of those people that have to see it. to
Mm,
remember it. So I'm going to share a
yes.
screen and see if you see it too. Do you see that?
Oh, yes. Okay, now it's only one D in Redic.
Okay, good, good thing.
Yes.
I thought it was two. So there is the name, Ericka
Yep.
Redic.com, and that is you.
Yes. Yes.
So Ericka Redic. You have to be read. You've got it in your name.
Exactly. Exactly.
Ah, I shared an email with you today. There's so much coming down the pike. There's so much coming down the pike.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, and did you get a chance to? I was looking at an executive order. Hold on, let me mute this for a second if I can. You got to keep talking when the dogs are barking.
Oh, okay. So just say some stuff. I'm sure if there was some executive order by Joe Biden, it's garbage. You can pretty much guarantee that I'm going to think that, because all executive orders are garbage, because we don't live in a monarchy. And I know many of our presidents over the last several decades believe that we do, but we do not. So one of the things I would love to see and push for as Vermont's next congresswoman is eliminating the ability for the president to write executive orders.
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. It's so frightening, frightening. Uh, and the particular one I wrote you about was they're looking on, there's this D Day, they're calling it C Day on December 13th of this year. Um, and I don't know whether that's when the clock will start for the 180 days to examine this, but he's looking at a central bank digital currency. So you know how you've been going around and people are saying, "Oh, you can't use cash anymore," or no more coins. There's a shortage
Yeah,
of
there's a
coins.
shortage
That's
of
a
coins.
BS. That's a BS. That's a narrative
Okay.
that they've been building. So
Mm,
the um, the executive order purports to want to establish a this digital currency and remove cash as an option. And when that happens, of course, it can be turned on and off, according to your politics. It's not enough to have the IRS after you
yeah,
won't be
with
able to
the
use your card.
87,000 new armed agents.
Right, and of course, we know that the Constitution gave the Congress the right to coin and regulate the money supply. Only then they abdicated it to this
The
private
Federal Reserve.
banking
Yeah.
people. Yeah, so go ahead.
I've advocated to reverse to oh my God, my brain just farted. Yes, I would like to
Revoke?
revoke. Thank you. My goodness gracious. The Federal Reserve Act.
Yeah,
I think that there is a group of unelected bureaucrats messing with our money. They're messing with the value of our money. They're messing with your savings accounts, your investments, the value of your property, the value of your goods and things. This idea that these people should be allowed to have this much control over the well-being of Americans without ever having to be accountable or transparent with what they're doing, I have a real problem with.
right.
So,
Yeah, I've been also recently learning about land patents. Had you ever heard about land patents?
no.
I took a
Land
course,
patents,
land patents, like, patenting
like
something.
you invented something and you have a patent on it.
That's right. But what's so interesting is the Administrative Procedures Act, I think is 19, I want to say 46, it could be 42. I'm just in that little space.
Era.
They passed this act, and what prior to that time, when you went to buy land, you were not given a warranty deed like we have now. You were
Yep.
given a land patent. So after
Okay.
that act, they changed the definition of land. Sound familiar? Vaccines changed the definition. they changed it to real estate. And then quietly, when you went and got your property, instead of handing you the land patent, which was irrevocable, it was forever, you would instead be getting a warranty deed. And when you look at the warranty deed, you'll see that you have the right of tenancy.
Oh yeah, because we pay the government rent to own the property that we own in the form of
Exactly.
property taxes.
Exactly. And that's
So,
that's when
okay.
they did that whole
So when they
spiel.
started making it so you could levy property taxes, is that what it is? Then
That's
they
that's
changed it?
right. So the purpose of this teaching, and I hope people are listening and will go find out more. I'm just beginning to
Yeah.
learn. There's a person named Ron Gibson who's like the foremost lawyer on land patents,
Oh,
and
cool.
you can and should, if you own property, go after your land patent because we're seeing this, and this is my my educated guess that we're beefing up the IRS with guns, uh, and we're stampeding this Green New Deal to get people off the land, and it's pretty a common discussion that the government is, or we can say the corporatists, or the wrongdoers in this whole mess are making a land grab to push people into the cities, and they could use the fact that you only have a right
Mm,
of tenancy along
right.
with the Green New Deal to usurp your property. And the answer to that, of course, is getting this land patent.
I'm really curious about that. The Ron fella that you mentioned, what was his name?
Here, let me put his name up on that same
There's
piece
Ron
of
something. Is he
paper.
low? Is he here in
No,
Vermont or is he somebody?
no, he is, and I was joining a class that was offered by AmericanMeetingGroup.com
Okay.
and the Anastasia US Society. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Where's my Zoom? Have you ever heard of them, Anastasia people?
No.
It was initiated in Russia,
Okay.
and it's some people who are uh, following the teachings of this seer named Anastasia. And from her teachings, that's the name of the patent lawyer,
Okay.
land patent
American
lawyer.
Meeting Group. Yep.
And you can find them on YouTube or go to American Meeting
Yep. Oh yeah, you can
Group.
Google him. He
Yeah.
comes right up. Yep. Oh,
Okay.
huh.
Yeah. So uh,
Hmm. Cool.
Anastasia is very interesting because it started out with this Russian writing books about her, and they went into all these languages, and she started a movement called Back to Land movement called King's Domains, and
Okay.
it's really primarily young people living on families living on 2.5 acres and being self-sustaining, and all of the not only the health but the spiritual benefits and the connectivity with Earth as a being. It's a profound movement.
Cool.
So they were. I was listening to people from Russia who were doing this and things like that. So
Nice.
um,
Well, I mean, there is something really there, you get so much freedom knowing that you can take care of yourself.
yes.
And I don't just mean freedom, like freedom, free, like confidence and a willingness to take risks. If you live in the city and you work for some corporate overlord and you don't own the house that you live in and you don't own the car that you drive places, like you can't get yourself places without somebody else, and that is a real sense of powerlessness
Hmm.
and a feeling of dependency. And while you know in a lot of circumstances there are people who are dependent, right? Like there are people in my family that we help take care of who maybe can't drive themselves or get places, or, we as a community, as a society, are responsible for helping people who need it, right? But just in talking about this specific thing, when you are wholly dependent on someone else for your sufficiency, it
Hmm.
is, it is, it, it, it does something to you. And so just being able to, having to chop wood to heat your house,
Hmm.
and, having to work with the environment around you, having to till the soil, cooperate with the weather so that you can grow your own food. Like pick something, just do something that gets you connected to
Hmm.
like having to work to survive, and you'll be much happier.
Hmm. Well, I think that really, to me, this whole disingenuousness of the Democrats' climate change
Mm.
scare is so obviated by the fact that they they aren't saying, geez, let's fund millions and millions and millions of small organic farms, small organic yards. Now, if they were honestly concerned about this planet, that's exactly what they would be doing. They would be building our heirloom seed supply. They would be building our organic food supply.
No, instead, we need to give subsidies to giant corporations like Monsanto to put small farmers out of business.
Well, yeah, and what China now and Bill Gates now are own the most farmland. Sorry, I'm
Emily,
gonna de.
Emily, when I learned that our meat is getting sent to China to be processed, I threw up in my mouth. I just, for the record, I was like, you're trying to tell me that instead of the animals that are grown here being slaughtered and processed here, they're being slaughtered and then shipped across an ocean to be processed, packaged, sealed, and then shipped across an ocean back to us. Shipped in a place where they don't have human rights, where they don't have environmental laws like we do, like they, or the, employee protections, when we know meat packing is like one of the most dangerous jobs. Like that is so first of all, that's disgusting.
Hmm.
And it makes you not ever want to eat anything from the grocery store ever again.
Hmm.
But also, like, what is wrong in our country that we can't process and produce our own food? Like, what is happening that is the circumstance? How is it less expensive somehow or better for it to be shipped across an ocean twice before we eat it? I can't fathom
Yeah.
this in my
Well,
wildest dreams.
have been having your ear to the ground about the Biden administration, the FDA, I guess it is, the Food and Drug people, or the Agricultural ordering farmers, particularly in, I think, Nebraska, I think it is, to plow under they're destroying the crops, and they're ordering farmers to do so, or else they won't get their subsidies. There's all kinds of videos, on the platforms that aren't being censored, which are Rumble, BitChute, those ones, where and farmers are crying because they get this order that's saying you can either destroy your crops or we'll come in and put Agent Orange, but you have to do it this way. Otherwise, you can't get your subsidies. And so this has been going
So
on.
when we're about to have a food shortage,
Well,
they're
yeah.
destroying food.
And how many food processing plants and how many cattle poisonings are going on. It's really uh, it smacks of devious and
And
wildness.
all the same time, we're having baby formula shortages and
Yeah.
huh.
Well, um, and I want to talk to you separately about this, how can we help one another, and how can we get build up for one another. But
Yeah.
we do see um, a food shortage being
Mm,
planned, and we do see, um, you know, people running the show who really aren't wholesome, to say the very, very
yeah,
least.
to say the least. You're correct.
Yeah. So it would be so awesome to have you as our voice there.
Yes.
I almost feel like crying because people are so caught up in the, oh my God, we have to have the very first openly gay woman. I don't want to know about her bedroom practice. That is not a qualifier for for her judgment.
Yeah.
In fact, putting that first and foremost is an odd judgment in and of itself. Tell me about your accounting career, and what you want to focus on in
Yeah.
Congress.
Well, my big focus in Congress is going to be restoring accountability, transparency, and integrity to Washington. And so, some first year bills I want to present are going to be for term limits for federal officials. So, no more Patrick Leahy spending 48 years in Washington, Nancy Pelosi 40 years or whatever it is, all these people. No more, absolutely not. There's no reason Anthony Fauci should still be the head of the NIH. Like, absolutely not. Nope, we need to cycle through people. So term limits, a balanced budget initiative. So no more printing money, no more borrowing money. Nope, we need to take the black card away from Washington. You can spend within your means. And oh, by the way, we're going to cut taxes. So you better cut the budget. And single issue bills is another big one.
There
So
you go.
no more of these 10,000 page omnibus spending packages that has all this pork stuffed in it. Nobody's accountable or responsible for what they voted for in the bill. So every bill, one appropriation, one topic, period. That's it.
Oh
So
man.
everything that I want to focus on is getting money out of politics. It's getting pork out of our budget. It's making elected officials accountable to you, the voters, to me, the voters, so that we know what actually is going on there,
Hmm.
and making sure that these people have actual values, morals, and ethics. So we need to make sure we're holding them accountable for any insider trading. We need to make sure that they're not using their position of power to enrich themselves,
Which they are.
which
I
they
mean,
are.
they're going in on a fairly decent, an excellent salary by our standards, and coming out as a multiple millionaires.
Yes.
They
They
can't.
may,
That
yes.
can't be happening by anything, right?
What is it? $175,000 a year for a congressperson. And that's not good enough. Not only do they make more than twice what the average American makes, they also have the best health insurance, the best pensions, the best access to whatever they want, plus money, power, and influence. And then they want more.
Hmm.
They give themselves raises. They exclude themselves from laws, and that should not be happening.
Hmm.
So that's why my big focus is uh how do we restore integrity, get accountability, transparency, and really encourage Americans to participate in their own self-governance, because people are so checked out. We talked about it earlier, the apathy. People are so checked out because they don't think that they have a voice, and they don't think it matters. And the reality is, right now it doesn't,
Yeah,
because
they don't, because media.
because people don't they don't because they don't because they believe they don't have power. They don't have power, so they don't show up, they don't participate, they don't vote, they don't go to school board meetings, they don't write to their senators and representatives to tell them what they want. They're just like, I'm just out, you know.
Well, there's been some serious undermining, and we were talking about the Federal Reserve,
Yes.
and that there were three acts that were done back then in 1913. There was the Federal Reserve, which of course was done right before Christmas
Mm,
on December 23rd by Wilson, who was installed for this reason. And they had a nice cover up happening with the Times and all the press, Hearst and everybody. And they also did the IRS, the
mm,
IRS, which is totally wiped, just about wiped from the US history books.
mm,
And that had to be ratified by all the states. It never was. But there was this one other act that they overturned, which seems really innocuous, but it isn't. It was this act that before that time, all the senators were elected by the House members, not by the
mm,
public.
mm.
So that when they were elected by the House members, so if our senator messed up, who we look to? We would look to you as our congresswoman and say, "Oh, you haven't
Why'd
been
you
you
pick
haven't
this
been
guy?
keeping him in line."
Yeah, yeah,
And so that line of accountability was severed, and they knew what
yeah,
they were doing.
yeah.
And
Isn't that
I
interesting?
don't know if reinstating that. Of course, the public wouldn't get it. They'd say, "I can't vote for my
Oh,
senator."
it was a democracy. Even though we don't live in a democracy. Yes.
No. Tell me, what do you think about what's going to happen with this weaponized FBI? What do you see?
Oh, all the more reason we need to get conservatives elected to Washington because this has got to stop. This is the kind of stuff you see in third world countries. The fact that the administration has been able to weaponize the FBI against school parents, against parents who are unhappy with their school boards, their rating. Look, I may end up eating my words at some point in the future. And I don't know everything. So I'm caveating my next statement with that. But you want me to believe that Donald Trump had nuclear secrets and you waited a year to raid his home to go get the nuclear secrets? I
In
don't I, I don't know if that makes Trump look bad or you look even worse knowing that he had it and you didn't do anything about it.
That's right.
So I'm just not really buying it, to
Yeah.
be frank. I'm having a really hard time. And unfortunately, what has happened is even if something were true and credible, nobody would believe them anymore because we've seen so many lies.
Yeah, well, I wonder because I can't even listen to NPR anymore.
Yeah.
After I saw them completely abandon critical thinking with the COVID, and I saw them begin to coerce people,
Yeah.
and now we're seeing the CDC saying there's no difference between a vaccinated and a unvaccinated person.
Yep.
And they took
Redemption.
away that little statement that said the spike protein only stays in your body for a few months. And we are seeing sudden adult death syndrome. We are seeing so much death and destruction post-vaccine. It's when we see that, and I've got to come back to my what I was gonna say about that. I'm just you're gonna have to. I totally get so just
We
so
went off on a
turned
little
around
tangent. Yeah.
about how the people have been deceived,
Yeah.
and it still hits me in a really emotional place because people we care about, if they were open about it, and I know I'm not tying it in what I started to say, but if they were open about it, about what was really going on,
Yeah.
then we could get the medical community to say, hey, what can we do? This didn't turn out like we thought. Can we flush the body? Can we give blood transplants to get this myocarditis out of the body? Um, it's such a difficult time, and I wish I could remember the beginning of my rant. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That is okay. It is very, I mean, this is just a really hard time.
Yep. You froze.
And when we see the FBI, when we see our law enforcement agencies that we're supposed to trust being weaponized against us, and I just have to, put where's my tinfoil cap? But when we see you weaponizing law enforcement against us, and then we see you also defunding the police, and then you're trying to take our guns away from us, and then you're weaponizing the FBI against Americans, hiring a bunch of armed IRS agents. Like you don't want me to be a conspiracy theorist, and you say that I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, but it's like this is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't want me to be suspicious, maybe you should look at the fact that you're doing too much.
Yeah. Did you know when you were young that you know, cared about the greater good?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's so cheesy, Emily, but when I was a little kid, I remember sitting in my dad's lap watching the news, and we would eat sunflower seeds. That was what we did. We sat in my dad's ugly ass recliner. This thing was so god awful ugly. And he would eat sunflower seeds, I would eat sunflower seeds, and we'd watch the news, and it was, the Iran Contra affair and
Mm.
things like that going on. And I just remember being like, "Dad, this seems dumb." And he was like, "Yeah, they're dumb." And I was like, "Yeah, I could totally do better than that." And then when I was in, I think it was around 4th grade, I believe. It was somewhere in elementary school. There was an oil spill in Milton where I grew up. And it was Rowley Fuels had a little oil spill in the Lamoille River. And I did an interview with the guy in charge of Rowley Fuels as an elementary school student. And I was like, what's up, my man? What are you going to do? I mean, I'm sure I didn't say it like that because I was a little kid, but you get my point. It was like, how are you going to be accountable to the people for what has
Right,
happened here?
right.
And I was asking those questions and seeking justice even as a little kid.
Yeah.
So this is something I've always had a heart for the underdog. I've always had a heart to fight for the I don't want to say the oppressed. That sounds like so cliche and ridiculous, but for the underdog, for people who are not being heard. I don't know. I have a fight instinct in me. If I see injustice being done, I
Mm-hmm.
feel obligated to say or do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I could wave a magic wand, I would make corporatism a non-available option to
Mm,
businesses.
mm,
Because that's where I think we've really lost that accountability with this shielding of our responsibilities. And even the word itself has corpse in it. Um, that's the root of the word. And, and I mean, I could go seriously down that road about, people. People have not been led to the knowledge. They've been sort of blocked from the knowledge, shall we
Mm,
say, that they need. When you go down, you look at that land patent stuff.
yeah.
You're gonna learn about your straw man, your legal fiction, your all caps name.
Okay.
This is new stuff to you.
Yeah.
The all caps, your name, when you look at your credit card, when you look at your checks, when you look at
Yeah.
anything, your name is in all caps.
Okay.
Now that means something to the corporate world. To us, we haven't been told the meaning, and we've been hidden the meaning. We've been taught to write our name with in your case, a big R and a big E and then a big R and the rest smaller case, right?
Right.
Well, remember the Matrix movie and the movie, the red pill and the blue pill. So the big R for Redic, big Ericka Redic, and is indicative of the flesh and blood person, you as a flesh and blood person. And interestingly, if you go dig through the IRS codes, which I was doing just for fun the other day, no, you will never, ever, ever see uh, a person being labeled as a man or a woman. You'll see them being labeled as a taxpayer or you. So let me share that this Ericka Redic in all caps is they've made a corporate entity for you at your birth certificate. So they're doing all these because they have to do business on that level.
Okay.
So they're doing business with your, they call it a legal fiction, but I just say your mini corporation. And
Okay.
when you sign your name with your flesh and blood person, you're giving them permission. So they're getting away with all of this because you think it's actually just you and they just couldn't figure out how to do your big your big letter and then the small caps. They just got it all stuck on all caps. But if you look on your personal checks and you look at the signature line, and at the very end, you'll see a little tiny MP. It's all in the fine print. No, and that stands for microprint. And you have to look at it under a magnifying glass. And that line right there says over and over, authorized signature. So you're giving authority for them to do business with your corporate legal fiction. So they have been making really two realities. And that's where a lot of our confusion is because we're being pushed around in this corporate world. We got to do what Ericka all caps, is told to do, but it doesn't resonate with a woman, the I am woman, the real flesh and blood woman.
Right.
And uh, getting an understanding of that deception is a part of what the opening of eyes is that's going on.
Mm.
Um, and it's it's something that we need to end all forms of deception that have been going
Yes.
on.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what it's so much of what we see is people doing their best to hold on to money, power, and influence.
Hmm.
And when we're in a circumstance where our particularly large corporations are working like this within our government, this people don't understand that when those of us who are conservative leaning talk about getting rid of the three-letter agencies or the unelected fourth branch of government, it's because we see so many places where corporate interests, special interests, have gotten people appointed to these agencies that make rules and create budgets and spend your money and demand taxpayer funded everything and infringement on constitutional rights and all this stuff, right? These corporations have installed people into the various levels of our government. They've been installed by politicians who receive money, power, and influence from these special interest groups. I know because I got all of their questionnaires and all of their like, seriously, this is, Emily, every day, particularly in the beginning of the campaign, I was getting multiple emails from all of these different special interest groups. National Realtors Association was like an 18-page long questionnaire. And essentially, in the end, what it said was, in what ways will you infringe on the constitutional rights of Americans?
Yeah,
And how much of their money will you give to us to give to our people?
right.
And so that's why you'll go to my page and I basically have no endorsements from any corporations or any of these special interest groups, because the answer from me is no. I'm not going to
Hmm.
do that. I will not do that. Even the Firefighters Association endorsed Becca Ballant because she's pro-union, not because she's made Vermont a better place, not because they think that she's more competent, but because she's pro-union and she said she would vote for whatever they said they asked her to vote for. That's why I didn't get it. And so it's like, you guys aren't making decisions that are good for the country. You're trying to take other people's stuff,
Yeah,
and then you're getting politicians elected who have agreed to take other people's stuff. So then they get to Washington and they appoint their friends and their donors to these various agencies, and then they give them kickbacks, and then they pass them laws and they do them favors. And that's why
yeah.
we're in the position that we're in today.
There's another layer. There's a blackmail layer. They won't let anybody.
I'm
Yeah,
sure of that.
that nobody will get into a chair position that isn't blackmailable.
I that does not surprise me at all.
What is it? Sibel Edmonds. She was a Turkish translator during
Mm,
9/11. She wrote a book called Classified Woman, and she speaks specifically about Leahy. And because she was bringing forward how these Turkish translators were like taking bags of stuff, and it was there was no boundaries of secrecy. There was no integrity
mm,
going on, and it's an excellent book.
okay,
And she spoke about how within it, because she was on a gag order. She was
I'm
warning
sure.
the administration about the weakness in their defenses and so forth, and the so that's one element. So we have just a few more minutes, and I want to tackle a biggie.
Yeah.
But you'd give you lob you a big basketball that weighs about 50 pounds. It's the Roe versus Wade issue
Oh,
and
yeah.
the constitutional amendment Prop 5 that's up in Vermont. Do you want to speak about that?
I
Um,
mean, no, I'm so sick of talking about it, but we have to keep talking about it. Article 22, Emily, I think we agree on this, but I could be wrong. Is going to be a catastrophe if it passes.
mhm,
Everyone, right, left, and center, pro-choice, pro-life, everyone should be anti-Article 22 slash
mhm.
Prop 5.
Tell them why.
It's because it is bad law.
Hmm.
So the first of all, the way that the legislature is supposed to work, the way that writing a law is supposed to work, is that it is written very clearly and explicitly. It's supposed to be very clear what the intention of the legislators is, and the interpretation should be easy. It should leave no room for interpretation.
Hmm.
That's how a law is supposed to be written, or a constitutional amendment for that matter. And what the proponents of Article 22 decided was they wanted it to be as vague as possible
Hmm.
so that it would be decided in the courts. And that is a direct quote. It is intentionally vague. And instead of our elected body of representatives, how many of them are there? 200 total? 150 reps and
Something
50
like that. Yeah,
senators, I believe.
yeah, 30.
So instead of having that many people, more hundreds of people, your elected representatives decide, they think it'll be better for 5 unelected judges to decide what reproductive autonomy means.
Yeah,
So for Becca Ballant and people like that to say that they're concerned about our democracy, they're concerned about the integrity of our democracy, you should be very concerned when they say that laws should be cultivated and decided by 5 judges instead
that's
of
right.
200 legislators.
That's right. That's right. And additionally, we already have the right, I don't know whether to call it a right, the disgusting permissiveness to abort a child at 9 months.
In the
And
state of
and if
Vermont,
and
the unborn is not a human being.
right, so anybody who thinks that there isn't a dark market going on for organ trafficking here in Vermont is just not I want to say not caring enough to be curious and uncovering a stone or two.
Well, and not to mention now they've decriminalized prostitution in Burlington,
Right.
and they want to legalize it in Montpelier. Abortions are known to at least double in areas where prostitution is legal. So now we're going to have more abortions, and oh my God, not Okay,
So
this gets me really fired up, Emily.
if this passes, a pimp or anybody else who thinks they can sex traffic somebody, and they get like, oh, I'll pay you 100,000 for a 9 month old, I guess, a corpse for
Correct.
organs
Correct.
donation.
There will be
Can
nothing
they
preventing it.
can and they can get somebody pregnant, and the woman cannot get an abortion because that person can go, the male can go to the courts and say, I have an equal right to that baby. So, I just think that in so many cases, Democrats and I guess everybody don't really think it through.
Oh, they do not. They really, really do not. And there is this fervor that everyone should be very afraid of. Okay, so I want to be conscious of the time because I know you said you wanted to try to keep it under an hour.
Yeah,
But
we got 3 minutes.
this mob nonsense. Okay, so gridlock was written into the system on purpose. Okay, there's a reason that gridlock is written into the federal government structure. There's a reason it was written into the state structure, separation of powers. It's to avoid this this hysteria that we need to somehow do something about the fact that we are now once again having the conversation about when a human life deserves the same protection under the Constitution as a born person. Okay, that's the conversation we're having right now. When is a human life deserving of the protections of the Constitution? And people don't want to have that question. They don't want to have that conversation. And so they're just like, we're going to scramble and we're going to make this an insane thing. We're
Yeah,
going to steamroll over over Vermonters because there's no way we could pass this in the legislature. We're going to steamroll people and we're going to make it so that 5 judges that we know don't care about the law are going to decide what bodily autonomy
yeah.
means.
Well, I mean,
People should be very concerned.
I don't see you as a, bowing and scraping woman to every male that goes by. I mean, I consider myself a pretty strong feminist. I mean, that's why I stood up to my transgender housemates that no, I don't want trannies in women's sports. And that broke the camel's back. They left because I wouldn't see them as males. I mean,
Yeah.
female, sorry.
Well,
I mean, I think
I
that,
played football in high school on the boys team, so I don't shy away from a fight.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think we are up, but I just, um, I'm gonna be praying for you,
Thank you.
seeing you there. I'm so excited about how much integrity and truth speaking. I don't see you as an opportunist. I
Thank you.
see you as somebody who like has the little farm on the corner that the big Walmart wants to come and buy. You say, no, I'm not selling. I like the farm. You know,
Yeah.
that's the type of person I see you as, and
Thank you.
that's what we really really need, not just for you, for I think the Democrats are hurting themselves and they don't realize it.
Yeah.
They don't know, they don't want a Trump in there to write an executive order to say that all nobody can be gay anymore. They don't want that. That's what's happening with Biden. You can't be conservative anymore. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think you'd be very, very excellent in caring for everybody.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you.
That is my biggest goal is, I love my home, I love my state, I love my country, I love my neighbors, and I want everyone to have the same opportunities, challenges, and blessings that I've gotten to receive. And I think that we can do this together as a team, as a family, and still respect each other's constitutional rights and be free.
Thank you, Ericka Redic. Thank you so much for coming on Talk Freedom.
Thank you, Emily.
Bye bye.